Coming to you direct from Silencer Shop Studios, home of the Glass Case of Emotion.
SilencerShop.com, the easiest way to buy silencers online, period.
Stand by for education, enlightenment, enjoyment, and entertainment.
He's not here to talk about your feelings. He's not here to say what you want to hear. He's here to say what needs to be said.
Ladies and gentlemen, and children of all ages, please welcome your host, the pimp hand of America, Professor Paul Markel.
All right. Welcome to Monday. Welcome to a brand new week of Student of the Gun Radio. And thank you for joining me. Thank you for having the courage and the fortitude, or maybe just the curiosity, to poke your head in and figure out what this is all about here. I am your host. I am sitting inside of the Glass Case of Emotion here at the Silencer Shop Studios. And on the outside of the glass is a little fella named Jared. A little fella named Jared who's working the Darth Vader. And how many monitors do you have open right now?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Really? You have 5 monitors open right now?
5 open, and I'm only using 4.
You got 4 monitors in front of you.
Yeah.
You're a multitasker. Does it bunge you up to only have 1 monitor since you edit with 2?
Oh, yeah. I can't have 1.
Like,
there cannot only be 1.
There cannot only be 1? So you're basically the opposite of the Highlander.
Yes.
There cannot only be 1 monitor open.
I'm the Lowlander.
All right. Well, if you happen to be new just accidentally, or you fell in here, or you just like, hey, somebody said I should listen to this, and I don't know. The guy who told me to listen to it's kind of a radical, but I did it anyway. Well, fear not. Open your ears, close your mouth, listen louder, and you'll learn something. I promise. And if you don't learn something, well, you can always write to P.O. Box 405, Boulder, Colorado, for a complete refund of today's admission price.
The free admission.
Hey, he's funny because he's free.
That's funny.
Because it costs nothing. Yes. All righty. We got some... We have a couple of topics to talk about today, and I promise to do better in the future. No, I'm actually drinking. You want to know? I haven't mentioned my coffee cup. We talked about Stanley the Honey Badger, the character on Action Figure Therapy, and how I hadn't heard about it until Yeager introduced me, and he hadn't heard about the Honey Badger Don't Give a Crap video until I introduced him. Well, I did a little more research. I went on the line and I watched some Stanley the Honey Badger videos. And those crazy kids over at Action Figure Therapy, well, they sell coffee mugs too. So right now, what I have is I have an official Stanley the Honey Badger action figure coffee mug. And it says, Stanley the Honey Badger, 42 pounds of nicotine and hatred.
Oh yeah.
And I didn't even do the, hey, can you send me one for free and I'll talk about it thing. I paid full price. Absolutely. They just got that for free. You're welcome,
the
Action Figures.
Therapy people probably, maybe they know who we are. I don't know.
If
they don't, if you know who they are, send them a link to Student of the Gun Radio. They might like it.
They should. They would enjoy it. We're of like mind. I can tell you that. We're of like mind. All right. Before we get into the, it's Monday's show because that's what the calendar says. And we're going to do a SWAT Fuel Warrior of the Week. But before we do our SWAT Fuel Warrior of the Week, let's talk about our friends at Brownells. Brownells at brownells.com. And if you go there, you can get pretty much anything you would want to put into, screw onto, attach to a gun, clean a gun with, stuff into a gun, shoot out of a gun, you name it, you can get it from brownells.com. And while you're there, you can pick up some Frog Lube Extreme. Was that good for you, Richard?
That was good enough.
Did that work for you? Okay.
It was good enough.
Frog Lube Extreme. It's green, it's minty fresh, and it just works. And, of course, Duracoat firearms finishes, because life is too short to have an ugly gun. And if you've got the mobile app, well, then you can order a Duracoat gun tat by poking the little button that says Gun Tat on the Student of the Gun mobile app. If you don't have the mobile app, I'm not really sure what to tell you, except that it is free. and it doesn't cost anything. It just takes your time. It just takes your time to download it on your iPhone or your Android phone or your iPad or whatever.
If you have a Windows phone, get an iPhone or Android.
Yeah, well, it'll break eventually, and you can just get an Android phone or an Apple phone.
Oh, I wonder the people that have Windows phones, the two that I've heard from. Do you guys? Is it a work phone? Does work pay for it? Is that why you have a Windows phone, or do you like Windows phones, or I don't know?
Their wife got them because they were on sale.
Ah, okay.
That's how your brother got his. Because your mom was doing the phone plan. She was upgrading the phone plan, and Zach needed a new phone, and that was on sale. So she paid like $1 plus the renewal and got that phone.
Oh, okay.
That's why he had that phone.
Well, I guess you get what you pay for.
Yeah. All right. Well, it is Monday, so it is our SWAT Fuel Warrior of the Week day. And if you are chosen to be the Warrior of the Week, you get a free bottle of 9mm plus P from SWAT Fuel. And if you don't, well, if you're not chosen, that's okay, too. You can still go over to SWATfuelstore.com and use it is still February as you're hearing this, is it not? Yeah, it should be. We're getting close to the end of February as you're listening to this, but it still is the month of February, and you can use the promo code PREPARED. Now, if they don't have that code, what can they use, Jared?
SOTG2015. So you can go to SWATfuelstore.com and you can either use Prepared or SOTG2015 to get that. And if we do choose you as the Warrior of the Week, you get a free bottle of 9mm plus P. If you want to claim that bottle, you need to email Alex with your name, your mailing address, your phone number, and your email. And her email is Alex, ALEX, @studentofthegun.com. And speaking of Alex...
Attention, new listeners. We produced a free training video series called 7 Training Tips That Could Save Your Life. We want you to have access to this life-saving information. Get instant access now at studentofthegun.com. Do you watch Student of the Gun TV, read the blog, and follow us on Facebook? If you answered no to any of those questions, you are wrong, but you can easily fix yourself. Go to studentofthegun.com to find everything SOTG.
Hey guys, it's Jared from Connecticut, and I have a question regarding monitored home alarm systems. I was recently woken up by my alarm going off. Luckily, it wasn't anything to be concerned about. But it got me thinking about the information relayed through the alarm system dispatcher. If I were to, say, describe myself to the dispatcher and say that I'm armed at the top of my stairs in the house, would that information make it to the responding officer so that if they looked through the window and saw me holding a gun, they would know who I was and that I was not a threat? Just kind of came up because I was thinking about what would happen if it actually was an emergency and I needed a police response. Thanks a lot, guys. Keep up the good work.
All right. Good question. And first and foremost, what we know is if your alarm goes off, this is what you should know. The alarm company is going to get first is they're going to get the digital signal that tells them what made it start making noise, whether it was an entry sensor, a broken glass sensor, a motion sensor, the panic alarm, what have you. That's their first piece of information because they're sitting in front of a monitor, and it's going to, you're in a house or your home alarm is going, wee, 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 wee. Well, it's not going wee, wee in the dispatch center. It just pops up and it reads. It says, this is who, this is where, and this is what I'm getting. Says the sensor, says the computer, it's telling them. Generally, if you get just one single thing, it's not always a false, but most of the time it is. I can tell you this. Pretty much every business or home or whatever that I've ever encountered that had an alarm system had redundancy, right? Like, for instance, here at our studio, we obviously have sensors on all the entry and access points, right? But we also have motion sensors and we have glass break sensors. So if it comes in as number 1, entry sensor, okay. Number 2, motion sensor. Number 3, second entry sensor. That tells you that there's something in and around there making stuff happen, right? So the chances of a person or a bad guy being in the house are pretty high, or business or whatever. That's what they're going to get first. Now, I know that it is standard, it's SOP to immediately call the call number, whatever the backup number, whatever the contact number is. And I'm assuming that your alarm system, every company's different, but I'm assuming the company has two numbers. Call number A first. If you get no answer, call B. If you get no answer from A or B, immediately dispatch police. And most of the time, they're not dispatching the police unless it's either A, the panic alarm. If you hit the panic button, they don't call you and say, did you really mean to push the panic button? They contact the police. Well, maybe some of them don't, but I know the one that I work with, the one we work with, if you push the big red panic button by the side of the bed or whatever, they know, okay, this was pushed on purpose, and they're automatically on the phone with whatever law enforcement agencies in your area. If it's just a motion sensor, or if it's just a door sensor, door sensors are generally the ones you almost always get the falses on. You don't usually get a false on like a glass break sensor, right? They'll try to call. Now, that is when you get them on the phone and they say, this is Susie from Simply Safe or whatever, Westech, or, oh, I just pulled that out of my butt. Westech is a company that I worked for like 30 years ago. Holy crap balls.
Did you forget about them?
Yeah, I forgot. If you just said, what's the name of the security alarm company that you worked for 30 years ago, I'd have been like, what? No, I just remembered that. Whatever, Bring Security. It doesn't matter. They'll call you. They'll say who you are, and I need your password. I need your safe word, right? And you give them the safe word.
I'm trying not to be 12 right now.
Yeah, trying not to be 12. You give them the safe word, and they say, do you want us to dispatch police? And you either say yes or no. Or if the person on the other end is a retard, like what happened to me, I gave them the word, the password. I spelled it out to them, and they still dispatched police. That's a totally different story, and I was not a happy camper. But regardless, the fact of the matter is, when you have them on the phone, maybe you are upstairs and it's a no kidding situation, and they need to get their butts there quick, fast, and in a hurry. Okay, great. Yeah, I would tell them, this is who I am. I'm a whatever. Give your physical description, and I'm in the house with my family, and I'm armed. Okay, great. So that way the police will know. I would tell them that. I would give them as much information as you think that they need to have. Or you hand it if you're the armed guy, hopefully you're not. If you're by yourself, rock on. Just grab your gun, go sit in a corner, talk on the phone, and if anybody comes through the door besides you, then they're a bad person, right? But if it's a family situation where it's you and a spouse and kids and whatever, whoever's holding the gat, pass the phone off to the person that's not holding the gat. Okay. Most families have that kind of system down where, all right, if I'm holding the gun, you talk on the phone, or if I'm talking on the phone, you hold the gun, so that we're not trying to do two things at once here. If the police are on their way, I would minimize the running around the house game. You don't want to be like startling them as they're arriving to a call, especially if it's like a panic alarm. I've been dispatched to a lot of alarms when I was a cop. A lot of front door sensor, back door sensor, whatever. And you're kind of amped up anyway when you're going to an alarm. But if you're going to an alarm that is a panic alarm or a glass break or something like that, where somebody really did something serious, your adrenaline is dumping, and you come around the corner and you see a figure of a person holding a gun, and hopefully you don't shoot the mirror. That's something that cops do when they're clearing buildings, is they shoot mirrors, because there's a guy with a gun down the end of the hallway, and he doesn't drop it when they all drop it.
And he's pointing it at him.
Or mannequins.
Yeah.
We're not just supposed to shoot mannequins, but it has happened in the past. Not to me. No. Don't write me things asking me to tell you I'd never shot a mannequin and I never shot a mirror, but I know it's happened.
Remember that pirate that was in the school when we were doing the the police department? Man, that pirate almost got shot.
Yeah, we were doing we're basically
force on force
training in a high school, and the high school's mascot was like a buccaneer or something, the Derp Buccaneers, and so they had a full size like statue mannequin like thing of
just like
a pirate.
Yeah.
And he had a sword, and he's standing there in the hallway and in the dark, and you're clearing and with flashlights and stuff, and you're like, oh, that guy.
That was a fun night.
That was a fun night. Yeah, few bruises here, a few quarter-shaped bruises there from Sims rounds. You hippies know what I'm talking about. All right, so I hope that answered your question, Jared. That was a good question. And the other Jared, make sure that, Jared, the question asker, thank you for asking us that question, and make sure that you follow the other Jared's rules and send Alex all your stuff. And let's say that they're out there in the listening audience, Jared, and they're curious. They say, hey, I want to be the Warrior of the Week and get free SWAT fuel. How can I do that?
You can call into the Warrior of the Week line, 682-207-7684, or you can download the Student Gun mobile app if you already have it. Just click the Call Us tab, then click the Warrior of the Week line, and it'll send you directly to the correct number. Now, our inbox is dwindling, so that means you have a higher chance of being chosen right now.
Yeah, we've been sorting through. So you hippies, if you want to hear yourself on the radio so you can run around the house screaming and, tell your friends over beers that you were on the radio, come up with an intelligent question, form it or phrase it as a question, just like Jeopardy. And remember, a question is one sentence with a possible follow-up of one other sentence. A question is not 1.5 paragraphs of you telling me what your favorite gun is. Just saying. Okay. Crossbreed holsters, because you should be carrying a gun. And if you're not carrying a gun, I don't know what you're thinking about. But they can help you carry a gun, or they can help you basically attach a gun to anything you want to attach a gun to. And I'm not even kidding. Between the purse defender, the bedside backup, all their different guns, or holsters, that is, they make holsters for... If they don't make a holster for your gun, there's probably a good reason.
You need to buy a new gun.
Yeah. Last time I checked, there was a ridiculous number of choices for firearms What?
There's a new website. I don't remember what it was called, but remember I showed you it's like a Amazon for holsters where you can go...
holsterbuyer.com or something like that? Or?
You can search your specific type of gun, and it brings up all the holsters, and Crossbreed is included in that.
Yeah. There are some gun companies out there that are really not doing the holster manufacturers any favors, because there's one who starts with an S, a gun company that starts with an S, and they keep changing the dimensions of their pistols, so that the holster makers have to keep coming up with different molds. Say what you will about G-Lock, but essentially, if you're a holster maker, you need two basic molds. You need the G17 sized mold, and you need the G20 sized mold. Well, and I know they have the new little ones, but okay, so 3. But some of these companies, they change the dimensions, they change the frame dimensions and the slide dimensions like every other year, and that just totally bunches up the holster makers. And that's the first thing that I will ask people when they tell me, they're like, hey, man, did you see the new derp gun? The new super cool single stack 9, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, okay. Who's making holsters for it? Well, I don't know. Well, if it's a concealed carry handgun, you might want to, have a holster for it. I'm not a scientist or anything, but I'm saying that you're probably going to get tired of carrying it around in your hand. You're going to want to stick it into something. So when these companies come out with, new guns, it'd be nice if there was somebody making holsters for them. Just saying. Century Arms, the sweetest smelling arms maker in the United States of America. Century is tempting us, or they're teasing us. We've been told that they're going to come out with a G19 sized handgun, a TP9 in the the basically subcompact, compact type frame or compact frame. We're hoping that they do that. We would very much like to see that. You can check those guys out. Well, if you have the mobile app, just tap the little button that says Century Arms, and bam, you're there. Velocity Triggers. You got a black rifle, they have a trigger for you. Check them out at velocitytriggers.com.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Das geht an die Oma des letzten Propheten Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Ich bin Allah so dankbar, ein Muslim sein zu dürfen. Das geht an die Oma, wir sind die Oma. Check das aus. Bismillah.
I wanted to take a moment to give you a quick update on the machete attack from Columbus, Ohio. And this story comes to us from the ColumbusDispatch.com. Or it's just dispatch.com, but whatever. It's a Columbus Dispatch's online newspaper. And it goes something like this. Now, you guys remember last week we talked about the Muslim missionary who decided to go into an Israeli Christian-owned restaurant and start hacking people with a machete, and how the big news was, for like the first 12 hours, almost 24 hours, most of the big news agencies were unable to, find a photo of the gentleman. We were able to, because we have apparently super high-speed computers that we can do that. But the news agencies, they couldn't come up with a photo of the gentleman until somebody dug, and they're like, oh, crap. This guy is actually on the FBI's terrorist watch list. Oh, man. Why couldn't he been an extremist right-wing NRA Tea Party member? Well, because extremist right-wing NRA Tea Party members don't do stuff like this. But we've got a follow-up, and the follow-up's kind of interesting. It says the date line is derp, 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 derp. Where's the date line on this turd? Okay, February 15th is the follow-up date line on this. Couple grateful to be alive after machete attack. And that apparently the machete attacked them. And it was a bad machete, and it should stop doing that. It wasn't apparently there was no human attached to the machete. It was just a machete gone wild. It's a new thing. Gerald and Debbie Russell weren't able to hold hands on Valentine's Day as they reclined on adjacent beds in the trauma unit at Ohio Health Grant Medical Center. From their fingertips to their elbows, their arms were heavily wrapped in bandages to cover the wounds they received when a man armed with a machete, well, at least they admitted that it wasn't the machete all by itself, when a man armed with a machete attacked them and others at a North Side restaurant last Thursday night. But the high school sweethearts, both 43 and married for nearly 25 years, weren't allowing their injuries to spoil the romance of the day. Someone was asking what Valentine's Day was going to be like for us, Mr. Russell said. I told them, I'm going to be sitting next to Debbie the whole day. What could be better than that? Well, all right. The Johnstown couple is thankful to be alive and grateful for Grant surgeons who spent hours repairing tendons, arteries, and nerves in their hands and performing microsurgery that appears to have saved 2 fingers that were nearly severed from Mrs. Russell's left hand. Okay, we are now, let's see, we are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 paragraphs into this story, and we are way below the fold. This is important, kids. This is important. So we're 5 paragraphs into the story. What we've gotten so far that we've got the names. We got really serious details about the victims. We got their names. We have their ages. We have the fact that they were high school sweethearts. We got all that stuff. And now in paragraph 6, the reporters were able to get to, stuff. They were finishing their gyro or gyro or hero. I'm not really sure how you want to pronounce that word.
See, I think it's actually gyro.
Gyro. Dinners in the front booth at the Nazareth Mediterranean Cuisine around 6 p.m. when Mohammed Berry, 30, walked into the restaurant, raised a machete, and began hacking at Mr. Russell. When his wife stood up and screamed at the attacker, Berry turned the machete on her. The couple managed to flee the restaurant. Mr. Russell out the back and Mrs. Russell out the front, and can't fully explain how they escaped with their lives. Neither realized that they were being attacked with a machete. Both thought they were being struck with a club or a baton. what did we talk about last week about most people that are knife attacked think that they're being punched until they realize all the red stuff's leaking out of them? Okay. Neither realized that they were being attacked with machete, even while assessing their injuries and after taking refuge in a carpet store next to the restaurant. My fingers were dangling, Mrs. Russell recalled, and they were surprised to hear that a machete had been used. The first full blow struck Mr. Russell on top of his head with so much force that he was staggered and doesn't remember much other than pushing the attacker away and heading to the back door. The blade must have been sideways, Mr. Russell said. There's nothing on my head but a large bruise. I probably shouldn't be alive. Okay, moving on. Barry, who's Barry? Oh, Barry is the Barry Soetoro? No, not Barry Soetoro. The other Barry. The other Barry also attacked William Foley, a musician performing at the restaurant, and Neil McMeekin, Neil McMeekin, before he was chased away by a restaurant employee with a bat and a patron flinging chairs. Okay. Columbus police have said, or that's what they said, the Russells were gone before seeing anyone intervene. Foley, 54, was in critical but stable condition the day after the attacks, but the hospital no longer releasing any information about his condition. McMeekin was treated and released. Barry was shot and killed by the police after fleeing in a, get this, a Toyota Corolla. So here's what we've got so far. We have all kinds of details about the victims. We've got one who's a musician. Okay. We have two that are high school sweethearts. We have their ages. We have a description of the vehicle which Mr. Barry fled in. It says he reportedly charged at officers with a machete and a knife after being stopped 5 miles away from the restaurant. Well, now we're all done talking about him, and we're going to go back to the 1990 graduates of Westerville High School, blah, 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 talking more about the Russells and so forth. And Mr. Russell said he initially was unhappy when he heard about Barry's death. I wanted to know why, he said. But the more I thought about it, I realized I don't need to know why. It's irrelevant. It meant something to him, but it means nothing to me. And we get all the way to the bottom of the story, and guess what's not there, Jared?
What?
What do we get about Barry? We got the victims.
Literally nothing.
Where they graduated from high school, how old they were.
He got his age.
Everything. We got the attacker's name and age.
Yeah. That's it.
Nothing about him being an immigrant from Somalia. Nothing about how he is a
that's not important.
Muslim missionary.
That's not important.
He's a representative of the religion of peace and brotherhood. Nothing about that. No, we don't need to know about that. Even after they talk about, how the victim initially wanted to know about motive. We don't need to know about that.
Didn't you know you could solve problems without addressing the problem?
They even went so far as to tell us what kind, make, and model car the attacker drove away in, but the Columbus Dispatch, as wonderful as they are, couldn't seem to bring up any of that whole religion of peace and love and, where he came from, and that's immaterial. It's more important to talk about what kind of car he was driving, Paul. I know I was thinking, like, as I was reading the story, I'm like, okay, he got away. But for Pete's sake, tell me what kind of car he was driving. I don't care anything about the attacker, his physical description, none of that. I want to know what kind of car was he in. And are we going to sue Toyota and hold Toyota responsible? That's what I want to know.
Wasn't it? What company was it? What car company was it that made the anti-terrorism car? Remember that?
It was Toyota, wasn't it?
Was it?
Was it the one that in Europe where they were like it was like a bomb-proof car, and they
blows himself up.
They did the commercial about blowing itself up, and
no.
What was it, Mercedes?
I don't remember, but the
commercial where the guy went to blow himself up and he got in the car and the car didn't explode. He just exploded in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Remember what car that was? I mean, commercial?
It was a European commercial, wasn't it?
Yeah. I think it was Audi.
Anyway, so I just thought you kids out there would appreciate that. And kudos to the brave reporters at the Columbus Dispatch for digging deep and getting us all those facts so that we could move on with our lives. So now that I know where the Lovebirds went to high school and what kind of car the attacker was driving, I feel satisfied that I don't need any more information about this situation, and I'm just going to move on with my life and not think about that anymore. Okay. Hey, gun culture. How you doing today? I'm doing fine. Do you own a gun? Do you consider yourself a gun owner? Do you consider yourself part of the gun culture? You do? Well, congratulations. You went out and purchased an object. Now what? In the United States of America, we have the shooting sports industry, and these are companies that make stuff. They make stuff for you, and you go out and you buy stuff. And anybody with disposable income and an ID can walk into a store in America and fill out a Form 4473, and they can purchase a firearm. And that makes them a gun owner. Okay, congratulations. And when it comes to defending liberty and to protecting our freedoms and talking about Second Amendment and Constitution and Bill of Rights and all that stuff, we like to pat ourselves on the back and tell ourselves that in America there are umpteen million gun owners. Okay, congratulations. What does that mean? Well, in my world, and here at Student of the Gun, that doesn't mean anything. That means nothing. It means you purchased an object, and now you own that object. Yay! Oh, whoa, Paul! I thought this show was called Student of the Gun, and you should be applauding people that had the bravery to go out and purchase an object. No, that means nothing to me. It's not about guns. It's not about owning objects. It's about allegiance and loyalty. And the title of the show is called Gun Culture, an Army of Recruits. I want you to think about it like this. I was a recruit once. Many, many moons ago, I was a young skull full of mush, standing around in an ill-fitting uniform with a ridiculously silly-looking haircut and some black shiny leather boots on. And I was a recruit, but I was not a seasoned Marine yet. Now, when we played a little game called Desert Shield / Desert Storm about 20-some years ago. A big deal. It was a fact that was made a huge deal out of in the Time magazines and Newsweeks and all that. And back in 1990, we were hammered constantly with the fact that Iraq had the 4th largest army in the world. And that how is America? How do the Allies hope to contend with the 4th largest army in the world? And they wrote up all kinds of news stories about, the total number of infantry troops and the total number of tanks and planes and artillery pieces and all this that Saddam Hussein had amassed over his career. And we were fed that constantly. And then when it came to be shooting time, we spanked their butts. Can I say that we spanked their asses? Jared, am I allowed to say spank their asses on?
Sure.
Okay. Jared says I can. We spanked them. And when we were all done, I remember sitting around talking about so much for the 4th largest army in the world. The numbers really didn't matter that much. The fact of the matter is a large number of the people who were part of the 4th largest army in the world were conscripts. They were drafted. They were forced to go in. And, a year ago, they were sitting at their home, in outer Baghdad eating hummus. And then today, they're wearing an olive drab green uniform sitting in a hole in the desert, So the numbers really didn't matter. Now, yeah, you need numbers, but when it comes to sheer numbers are not what win battles. You don't. The Russians the Soviets, when we go all the way back to the great Soviet Union, we were constantly told that, the Soviet Union had, divisions of tanks and divisions of personnel, and they had so many this and so many that, and they had, we would read stories about how the Soviets had more tank divisions, and the Soviets had more MiGs, and the Soviets had more artillery, and yada, yada, yada. And on paper, it looked like there was no chance for us to win the Cold War, and we better not even try. We better figure out a way to get along. And the people on the left, you kids don't remember this, but the hippies on the left and the big media back then, the media is always, my entire life, the media has been in the tank for people with D's behind their names. They've been in the tank for socialists and traitors and scumbags and people that call themselves Democrats. They've been in the tank for them, and they tried to convince us all during the Cold War that we needed to not even try, and we needed to make nice with these people. We needed to make, if nothing else, we needed to make nicey nice with the Soviet Union and figure out a way to just keep them our friends, because if we ever had to fight them, they would bring up these stats. They'd like, look at this. Look at all the tanks they have. Look at all the artillery they have. Look at they have this and this and this. Look at all the ships they have. And we were constantly told that you guys, you Reaganites and saber rattlers, and you're always trying to make the Soviet Union mad, and you need to stop that because they have these numbers. Well, here's a gun culture. We like to pat ourselves on the back by talking about how many millions of people own guns. Oh, well, good luck with that, because there's 80 million gun owners in America, and that'll never fly, and that'll never pass, and that'll never... If I hear one more jackhole at a gun shop or a gun show or whatever say, oh, that'll never fly, there's 80 million gun owners. Okay, 80 million people own an object. What is their allegiance? How much courage do they possess? How much fortitude do they possess? Owning an object does not give you courage and fortitude. Think about it like this. What would you rather have? An army of 10,000 recruits? Guys that just yesterday were given their cool camouflage uniforms and got a haircut, and so now they're there. They've got boots and uniforms, and there's 10,000 of them. And over on the other side, we have 1,000 Green Berets. Which fighting force would you be more afraid of? And if you say 10,000, you need to rewind the tape and go back and listen. I would rather have 1,000 Green Berets than 10,000 recruits. And what we have today is people who went out and bought an object, and that based upon that object, they believe that expresses their allegiance. It doesn't. Ownership of an object does not express your allegiance. Your allegiance to the founding principles of this nation is what we need. What we need is a couple of million people dedicated to preserving the founding documents, regardless of what objects they happen to possess or not possess. That is what we need in America. We don't need a bunch of people owning objects. We need people with heart, with courage, with allegiance. That's what's going to save this nation. All right, kids, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you didn't, like I said, P.O. Box 405, Boulder, Colorado. Send a self-addressed stamped envelope, and Jared will get your refund in the mail to you within 6 to 8 weeks.
I will do that. I will answer you quicker, though, if you go to studentthegun.com and type your email and your name in there. You'll get an email instantly. You won't have to wait 4 to 6.
That's right.
8,
Click the big orange button. You know you want to. Talk to you tomorrow, kids. Bye.